Hello and welcome. My name is Ilva Tare. I'm a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Europe Center, and this is Balkans Debrief. North Macedonia's accession to the European Union has been delayed for at least 2 years due to a disagreement with Bulgaria. The conflict between the two countries centers around the identity of the Slavs in Macedonia, with Bulgaria claiming they are Bulgarian and North Macedonians asserting their distinctly Macedonian ethnicity and language. My guest today is Petar Todorov, a historian and faculty member of the Institute of National History at Saints Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje. And since 2018, Petar has been member of the Bilateral Multidisciplinary Expert Commission for Historical and Educational Questions between Republic of North Macedonia and Republic of Bulgaria. Professor Todorov, welcome to Balkans Debrief.
Welcome. Pleasure to have you.
Tight security prevented any violence at Sunday's commemoration at Goce Delchev, a revolutionary hero to both North Macedonians and Bulgarians, with a Bulgarian delegation coming to participate in the ceremony. In your view, how should we interpret this? As a sign of escalating tensions or as a sign of progress for a potential compromise?
Yeah. First of all, just a kind reminder. Thank you for your question and opportunity to talk with you and to inform the public in the United States and other parts of the world about what is happening in the Balkans right now. When we refer to the problems that exist between Bulgaria and Macedonia, North Macedonia, now we refer to Macedonians and Bulgarians. North Macedonians is something that is considered as very negative among ethnic Macedonians, and I think also among other communities living in the country. What was happening before? What was happening during the last days in Skopje? It's all started with some incidents that took place in other towns in the country. Incidents that between two groups of young people. They used to belong to a single political party. Now that they split, and one of them is declaring himself as a Bulgarian, and he was attacked allegedly because he was Bulgarian, and a second person of one of the Bulgarian clubs in one of the towns in Macedonia. And this provoked exchange of accusations between the political and intellectual elite in both countries. And nationalists in Bulgaria, they claim that they will come in numbers to visit the grave of Goce Delchev to commemorate the birth of this person, this hero, obviously for both countries, for both societies. And also there were some, statements coming from nationalists from Macedonia that they will organize night watches to prevent Bulgarians coming. This led to this actually provoked the officials of the country, including the president of the republic, to pronounce that this day will be a day of a high security risk. And we see how this developed from an incident between two groups of young people, become an incident between two countries, and at the end it became a topic that was very much exploited and instrumentalized by political parties in each country prior to the upcoming elections in Bulgaria and the expected elections in North Macedonia. So we see how a small incident can really make this situation, the relations between the two countries, very, very difficult, which means that they are really, really very vulnerable at this moment.
So, which means that a sign of progress or compromise is still difficult or far. But let's talk about the problem, if I may. Can you give us a sense of how work is proceeding on the expert commission? How close are we to a final agreement, if we are?
Yes, that's a good question. We are working for almost 5 years, and I have to say that commissions like ours, it's not the first commission in the world, in Europe, that is trying to solve some historical disputes, historiographical disputes between two countries, two societies. They usually work for many years, decades. And for example, the Polish-German Commission. So we are working for 5 years. We started very well. To my that's my impression about the work of the Commission. But at the moment when the politics, especially I would say here in Bulgaria, came out with these framework declarations, explanatory memorandums sent to Brussels, in which they tried to define the identity of the ethnic Macedonians living in North Macedonia and to deny the existence of the Macedonian language. This actually created an atmosphere in which it is very difficult to work and to try to solve these problems coming that are actually a historical legacy from other times. What I want to say is that when you have this kind of commissions, when you try to solve a problem that exists between two countries, there must be an atmosphere, there must be a commitment by the political elites to solve the problem. Otherwise, it is very difficult for experts asked by both governments to find solutions on some problems. That is why I want to say that if the political elites are really committed to the agreement that they signed almost 6 years ago, they have to show that they are really committed to fulfillment of this agreement and to better relations between the two countries.
So the involvement of politics in your work basically has stopped working? Like, are you still meeting, or the experts have stopped due to this political involvement?
We did not stop meeting. We continue meeting. So far we had 22 meetings of the committee. We are planning now the 23rd one. What I'm saying that we are working in a political context. We are all working in a political context. The journalists, the historians, everyone, the social workers. We are all working in a political context, and that is why I'm saying this political context has to be in favor of finding solutions of the problem, and not in favor of creating the problems or maintaining the problems.
Okay, try, if you can, to explain to us what is the dispute about? Like, why are the Bulgarian narratives of Macedonia not being a separate nation, even though they recognized independence of Macedonia in 1992? Why are the Bulgarian voters so sensitive to this narrative?
In 1992, Bulgaria was, I think, the first country that recognized at that time the Republic of Macedonia. Turkey was recognizing almost at the very same time as the second country, followed by other European and world countries. It's very difficult to explain in a very short notice, but I'll try to do that. The problem is kind of a historical legacy, starting from 19th century, the 20th centuries, but also the socialist regimes and the Cold War in Europe. In the 19th century, the Balkan states like Bulgaria, Greece, and Serbia, they fought over Ottoman heritage. They fought over territories of the Ottoman Empire, and they fought also for the souls of the people, including the region Macedonia, that today belongs to 3 different countries, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Greece. And they continue fighting. They started 2 Balkan wars, 1912, 1913. The motives of some of Bulgaria entering First World War and Second World War were because of Macedonia and because of the souls in Macedonia. And mainly speaking about the Slavic-speaking Christian population in region Macedonia. And Bulgaria and the Bulgarian political intellectually, they saw Macedonia and Macedonians as historically Bulgaria. And this was the main motive in their foreign policy, creating their foreign policy. It was the main paradigm in creating their foreign policy that led Bulgaria to enter in 4 wars in the first half of the 20th century. In socialist context, during the Cold War and the strong division that existed in Europe, including the conflict between Yugoslavia and the Soviet Union and sometimes, and Bulgaria as the closest and most loyal ally of Soviet Union, the fight was now in a different context. Now we have a Macedonian republic with ethnic Macedonians or Macedonian people living in it. And the fight is now still about the narrative, still about the historical legacy of the region of Macedonia, about the souls, about the ethnic Macedonians. But now in this context, Bulgarian official state, supported by historians, by ethnologues, by intellectuals. They were denying the existence of Macedonian identity and language before 1945. when they claim that actually Tito created the Macedonians by a declaration, which is not accepted by all those who are trying to understand how our group identity, including ethnic or national identity, created in modern world. So this is basically the Bulgarian narrative is about claiming its claiming its ownership over historical legacy of Macedonia and ethnic Macedonians, and because of that, we have this kind of dispute today.
Why is the distinction between language and dialect so controversial between North Macedonia and Bulgaria? And if I may ask you, what language do you speak in the expert commission when you talk?
That's a very good question. You may be familiar, for all those who are familiar, they all know that South Slavic languages are very similar languages, so the people that mutually understand each other with no need of professional translators. In the work of the committee, we as members of the Macedonian team coming from North Macedonia, we speak Macedonian language. Bulgarian colleagues, they speak their own Bulgarian language. And of course, we understand each other, not only because this is how we are born, but because during our socialization, during our training as formation as historians, we're reading different literatures, including the Bulgarian one, like Serbian, Croatian, and other foreign language literature. So this is the language that we discuss, and I think it's normal that we discuss without using interpreters who will help us to understand. And this is the way how to try to make a better understanding, to be more closer, in looking for solutions of the problem. And but when you are asking me about language and dialect, I have to say I'm not a linguist, and it's very difficult for me to explain professionally, let's say, about the differences. But we all know what does it mean language policies, and that each country at a certain moment is applying this language policy in order to codificate a specific dialects as a standard language. And this is what all countries in modern world did already, including Bulgaria and Macedonia, with their own dialects that were existing, they're still existing on the territory on which the country is created. So, but the question of language is very important. It's also a very personal question, but it's also the question of identity. Usually, ethnic Macedonians, and I have fully understand, and I'm me as Macedonian also. I share this not only emotions, but the impression that, denying the existence of a language that you speak is something that we consider as a hate speech, and it's not about the states to speak whether one language or another exists or does not exist. Today, there are different language departments all around the world that they're studying, researching Macedonian language. So the Macedonian language is very well accepted by the community of linguists in the world, and it's one of the official languages in United Nations, and is also recognized by many European Union, by European Union, except by Bulgaria. And I'm very, I'm disappointed, and I'm looking for the moment when the Bulgarian state will come over this issue.
What does finding common ground on this historical dispute really mean? What does it entail?
That's how to find a solution. It's a good question, $1 million question. I think it's naive to expect that both parties or any parties in the world could agree on a single version of history. Today we do not speak about historical truths. We rather speak about histories in plural, referring that there are different interpretations of the past based on different perspectives, national, social, ideological, racial, or other. So therefore, the two narratives, they must coexist. And I have to say that even in one country, whether we speak about North Macedonia or Bulgaria, there is no only one narrative. There are several narratives, and history is about debate. It's about exchanging arguments. This is how the historical science is developing. So it's not about coming to one narrative and then, okay, stop, and then we did our job for the sake of the society and the humanity. So,
but do you believe it is possible to find a pluralist view?
Of course, I mean, that's very important. And we have to look for, we have to create empathy in both societies to accept the different interpretation of the past. But this but is very important. What I want to say is these narratives, they must be cleared, by any hate speech. They have to, these narratives should not create a negative image of the others. They should not create any hate speech that we consider today. So really, it's very important to as committee. I'm speaking now about the Macedonian team because I cannot speak in the name of all members of the committee. It's very important to address some problems that exist in the textbooks in both countries, that we or the colleagues from Sofia consider that are form of hate speech or that are creating negative image of the other. What I want to say, we are looking to how to improve education in the country and to create education informed by the values of pacifism, anti-militarism, and anti-chauvinism. This is the way how these problems can be solved. Otherwise, trying to impose one narrative to another country, this is not the right way, the right path, the right methodology, how to overcome the different interpretations of the past.
What is the sentiment among individuals in North Macedonia about these disputes? I mean, I'm aware, and I think you are too, that many families live in both countries. They have both passports, North Macedonia and Bulgaria's. Yeah. How do they feel about this?
The question of passport is a recent question, is a recent topic, let's say. Bulgaria is giving passports to many citizens, including the citizens of North Macedonia. They started this since 90s, but they're also giving passports to citizens of Ukraine, of Moldavia. I think also Albania. So this is a policy of Bulgarian state that it's very difficult for me to comment on it because I'm not following closely these developments. But it's true that there are families, there are citizens in North Macedonia who have also families in Bulgaria. And this speaks how our histories are entangled, how we share a past. So, and we have to acknowledge this. And this is our link, our bridge, how to connect better, and to put away this historical legacy coming from the Cold War era.
Professor Todorov, do you see the Bulgarian-Macedonian conflict as fundamentally different from the typical bloody conflicts in the Balkans, or is it similar? What lessons can the rest of the region learn from this process?
One thing that makes us Macedonians and Bulgarians very lucky is that there is no such bloodshed as we witnessed in the 90s in the Balkans. And not only 90s, but generally speaking, the 90s. There are some historical legacy of the Second World War when the Bulgarian state occupied territories in Greece and in Yugoslavia, where on which territory today exists the Republic of North Macedonia. And those war crimes were prosecuted after the Second World War, but they're still, creating problems in the relations between the two countries, as there are some voices of denying some war crimes committed by the Bulgarian state in the Second World War, including the deportation of the Jews in 1943 from Greece and Yugoslavia occupied by Bulgaria. The bloody conflict that we witnessed in Croatia, Bosnia, and Kosovo. It's all started also with narratives. I was a kid, but I really well I remember very well
and some of them false narratives.
Yeah. And of course, these nationalistic narratives are very selective narrative. The nationalists, they choose what they want in order to prove their thesis, and in order to create this sentiment of a glory nation, about the myth of victimization, and about the need of creating a greater states, that one people should live only in one country, ignoring that actually the territories in the Balkans are very mixed, and this was not the case from the 19th century. It was the case in the since Middle Ages. So the problem is that, these wars in Yugoslavia started. The Serbian narrative was a very nationalistic narrative that raised the Serb people to fight for greater Serbia. Croatians, they responded. They also had their own narrative about the great Croatia that would include parts of Bosnia. So this led to really 140,000 people who died. Luckily, we do not have this kind of bloodshed in the case of Bulgaria and North Macedonia, but we have to work to fight these kind of narratives that can create a bloody conflict. And this is the role that historians should play today, not to be a puppets to the nationalist politicians, not to be part of that nationalistic and chauvinistic policy that can lead to bloody war that we all witnessed in the 90s.
Any compromise in the near future, according to you?
Yeah, it's very difficult. We historians, we deal with dead people, not with with future. But what I would like to say is that I'm an optimist, and I will continue to work in order to find solutions, because really for me it's very anachronic and stupid to fight over different interpretations about the past. But I will say again, as I said in the beginning of our talk, that the political elites, they must be committed to find solutions. They must create atmosphere for these two societies to understand each other, to better understand each other. They have to continue work. It's not only to sign an agreement in 2007 for good neighborly relationship, like the agreement with Greece, the Prespa agreement. The real work starts after the signing of the agreement. So the politicians from both sides of the borders, they have to be committed to work on implementation.
To deliver on what they signed.
Exactly,
chances that the constitution will be changed and assert that Bulgarians are a minority in North Macedonia?
Of course, I mean, this is a political question. Really, it's very difficult for me to judge or to comment on that. It's something that North Macedonia government accepted as a condition to continue its negotiation for becoming member of the European Union. So let's see what will happen.
From a historical point of view, do you have a problem with that, having in the North Macedonia constitution that Bulgarians are a minority in there in North Macedonia?
I do not have problem for when it comes to the question of the human rights. It's very stupid and difficult to defend it, to be against that. But one thing has to be done. Bulgarians will become become part of the constitution of this country. But one thing must be clear: this move by the Macedonian government should not be instrumentalized or abused by Sofia for further claims and further political demands that will undermine the coexistence between Macedonians and the small minority of a very small community of Bulgarians living in North Macedonia, and also between Macedonians and Bulgarians living in Bulgaria.
Petar Todorov, thank you very much for this very interesting conversation. I appreciate that you talked to Balkans Debrief. You can also joining us by following in Twitter and joining at AC Europe. And also you can watch us on YouTube, on other social media platforms. Thank you.